Hey guys, welcome. It is Tuesday, normal day for the money show, and we are on episode 16, y'all. So if you guys are coming in now, please make sure to like this video. If you're a replay game, like this video as well. Kind of want to make an announcement. I think I'm gonna make this show go a little bit earlier because I be trying to go on walks and it's getting dark lately. So just FYI, I will give like fair notice in the future. But just wanted to let y'all know. I hope y'all still will come as far as like the live video shot group that likes to come. So today I want to talk about oil and how it's actually falling in price because of what's going on in Iran and how that seems kind of counterintuitive. And I wonder how things are going to go in this climate we are with the West and the Middle East. There is conflict in the Middle East, but there's conflict over here in the West as well. Next thing I want to be talking about is Texas's food label law and how that is actually a financial story, even though it's dealing with legislator. I think they passed this law because it's messing with financial security of the nation. And then lastly, I want to talk about how expensive credit card yearly fees are getting. And in the midst of this economy being at a state where wages are increasing very little, and we are over leveraged on our credit card debt, these companies are still finding ways to make their money. The first question that I want to pose to everybody who is watching live is, and replay gang, let me know in the comments when you're watching, is do you think oil investing is a commodity of the past? Before I give that answer, I want to go into the first topic. So the first topic is that oil prices are falling today as of June 24, 2005. The conflict over there in the Middle East is almost a week old, or a little bit over a week old, as far as like between Iran and Israel. And we're currently in a ceasefire, but I don't know how long that ceasefire is going to last. But Brent crude oil is down about 3%, and crude oil is down about 3% as well. And you would think if we were in a conflict, wars need oil to function, both sides, right? So it should get more expensive. So it's puzzling to me how it is going down slightly. So the main conflict is between Iran and Israel. However, we have America backing certain countries, we have Russia backing certain countries, and we have China backing certain countries. I'm going to try to stay out of like the sides. I'm anti-war, period. That's not the purpose of it, but because of oil and like the stock market is always affected by conflict. And in the past 24 hours, around lunchtime yesterday on Monday, Iran attacked Qatar, which is actually us. It's not even Israel. That's where like one of our bases are. And according to my research, they're saying it's more symbolic defense response to the missiles that were gone over there to Iran by us. And they weren't meaning to cripple America, but they're kind of like, we got to defend ourselves. And then oil market is thinking the worst is not going to happen because, baby, the stock market ended today very high. So I don't know if we're like in a house of cards as far as the economy is going in the stock market, because I was prepared for it to be going down like it did in April. But the tariffs affected the stock market more than this conflict. I thought that was really interesting. And they're saying that like today, when we have the ceasefire, they're looking to see how long it's going to last as far as like investors. That's why the stock market hasn't gone super down. Again, and it's actually gone up. I don't know, but I just think it's weird that we're in a conflict and the stock market is doing just fine. Another thing that they're waiting on is particularly the Strait of Hormuz, which is this little red dot here that I circled. It's this little pathway that Iran is threatening to shut off. And even though Iran says that they know it's going to mess up their economy, they're thinking about doing it to potentially put a jam in the whole world's economy. We do have other options out there as far as getting oil over these last 10 years, you know, so it's not just the Middle East we get our oil from now. Some new emerging markets are Argentina, Brazil, excuse me, I have to sneeze, and Guyana. I did not know about Brazil or Guyana. I did know a little bit about Argentina, so that's interesting. But people who are watching and specialists who are watching the economy or the stock market, they're saying that higher prices sustained at $80 a barrel would be dangerous territory, and we're not there yet. So they'll be concerned about it if it ever gets to that point. And it made me think, is investing in oil a commodity of the past? Which is why I answered the question. I asked the question, and I'm going to put no. Hi, East Boogie. Good evening. Good evening to you as well. Thanks for always showing up. Appreciate you. One day when our show is like hundreds of people watching, I'm going to always remember the day ones. And I really appreciate y'all. So yeah. Do I think that the oil investing is a commodity of the past? I'm going to say no. Because the clean energy, even though it's good and the world is leaning to that way, I think they're leaning to that way and it's going to take a long time. So investing in oil, I still think is an investment that's necessary because it's kind of like Old Faithful. So I said probably not. But I do think the exponential growth that people had with oil, sorry, not gold, but oil, I think that's a thing of the past because the world is moving on. And the world is moving on with artificial intelligence, data centers that help collect that artificial intelligence, cleaner energy, like this picture I put here on the right with the wind turbines and the what do you call those things? The solar panels. So those are things that we're leaning to. But when administrations change, when regimes change, they go back and forth. So I think we need both. But I think like as progress goes on, the world is leaning towards cleaner energy. But I decided to look at, so like, if you do want to invest, how do you do it? Because I'm not invested in oil, but now that I've done my research and I'm like, oh, I could, how do we do it? And since I am particularly a dividend investing type of person, I looked up for y'all, just so you guys have some information about it. Not telling you that you need to, because I am not giving advice, but these are some ETFs that are out there, and all of these ETFs do dividends because, you know, that's what I be focusing on. And they're not super expensive. They range as cheap as $13 and they go up to $120. Now, I'm not saying the dividends are super large, but to me, from my research, they seem like they were like 2 to 3%. And for me, that's a good start. The first three, XLE, VVE, DBO, these are American companies. But remember, like 2 episodes ago, I said I was going to look into foreign companies. And the last one, IXC, it's actually a ETF that follows a wide range of global energy companies. And it's only $40 and it gives a dividend. So I might put one or a few of these in my, what do you call it, portfolio, starting in 2026 though, not in 2025, God willing, because I'm not invested in oil, just like I'm not invested in gold. And y'all know I'm looking at gold. So 2025, I'm looking at gold and cryptocurrency because that's what my budget would allow. But you know what? I'm about to put in some oil. So hopefully these don't skyrocket because, yeah, I think it's worth it. Even though we are shifting to other parts of energy, I think oil is around to stay for a long time. The next thing we're going to talk about is Texas and food labels. I thought this was interesting. I wanted to share because Texas has a new food label law. And what the law does is that it puts warning labels on potentially thousands of food and beverage packaging. I got this from the Washington Post, and the actual title is "What the Texas Food Label Law Means for the Rest of America." And that's because it's weird that Texas, a red state, is doing something that promotes, honestly, health. But in this particular law, they are requiring 44 dyes and additives be told as a warning if they are in that food or beverage. And it's really only for new things. Old labels can stay the same, but when that old label or that old food has a new ingredient, then they have to update themselves, update the packaging with that label. And the thing about food is they change recipes all the time. And when they change it, they have to do it. This is shocking because Texas is red, and usually Texas doesn't like to get involved in business. This happened in California in 2023, something similar, but that's not different because, again, California is a blue state. But it actually also happened in West Virginia the same time as well, which is telling me that why do the red states care about this? It's strange because food is business. The Republicans are usually also business orientated. And it's setting up a battle between them because usually these big business companies would just lobby for the Republicans to have their side. But the Republicans are like, actually, no, we want these labels on this food because the food's not healthy. And they're addressing it. The Texas legislator said they want to address it because they want to address chronic disease and childhood illnesses, which, I mean, it makes sense. Because currently in America, our health outcomes are decreasing our incomes. And this is why I decided to put it in the show, because yes, big picture, us being unhealthy is not helping. And we are relatively unhealthy compared definitely to Europe, to Asia. We are not as healthy. Our food is terrible. So for finances, on a microscopic level, food is expensive. The unhealthy food is expensive. Food is expensive generally, but like chips, soda, fast food, it's expensive. Another thing is when you have a lifestyle, and at this point from childhood, because eating terribly starts from childhood in America, over time, over decades, you develop disease states. And if you have the disease states, your insurance things are going to be higher. So it affects someone's pocketbook in their home on a microscopic level. But macroscopically, you got to think about the big picture. And that's when legislators get involved. And the first thing that comes to mind, y'all, is that if we are unhealthy, especially in the state that we are in, we will have no soldiers. You know why we won't have soldiers? Because they are overweight. World War II, World War I, people were about 40 to 50 pounds lighter than they are now. Just naturally, we tend to be larger, me included. Like, you know, everybody got fitness goals, but it's not good for national security purposes. And the Army, or the armed services, are already having problems recruiting. But I think they're seeing, like, you know, we don't compete with other countries. And so that's number one. And also low testosterone for men in particular, because men tend to be the soldiers. Like, if those disease states usually come from low testosterone. And I know that from my old life of being a healthcare provider, right? So that's something that I came across a lot when I was doing my first job. Another microscopic thing that affects us finances, because our food is terrible, is that we have less money for milestones because we're not as healthy. Because we're spending our money on all those things that I talk about microscopically. So buying a house, buying a car, starting a family, that's affected. And another thing is when we are less healthy, we have more disabilities, and that doesn't allow the labor force to be as productive as America would want it. And labor is a big issue for us because we're getting rid of a lot of people that do the labor that we need, and we're not having as many babies that we used to have. So I think they're playing the long game. And when both parties are doing it instead of one, I think it's got to be for the economy. Just like when they took away TikTok, it was for the economy because people were not going to work anymore because they were able to just make money that they were making at them regular jobs, right? So somebody lobbied to say, hey, we got to get rid of TikTok. So now at this point, the laws passed in Texas, and the food companies, they are decrying that this is not necessary. This is overreach. And what the public has to wait and see is if they're going to sue. Kraft Heinz has been vocal about saying that they don't think this is necessary. So they might be on the verge of suing states or seeing if they could lobby federally, as well as Tyson Foods is also kind of decried against it. So we're going to see. But I thought it was interesting that, you know, both sides of the aisle are taking note of how food is messing with us financially, and sometimes a point of national security and like the future of this country. We've gone really far. And now these companies are going to have to put in some work to talk about honestly how this food is affecting us and give us warnings before we give it to ourselves or our kids. The next thing I want to talk about is, why are credit card fees so expensive? I got this from Yahoo Finance, and it made me want to ask you guys, like, do you guys buy into credit card yearly fees? Now, I don't want to be a hypocrite, and that's why I put Costco down here, because I do have a Costco card, and the Costco card, I think it's I'm gonna look it up. What are Costco fees? They have two, and basically the membership fee, if you have a Costco credit card, is just your yearly fee. So it's $65 or $130 per year. You would pay that anyway if you were a Costco member. So that fee is good for two things, not just having the credit card, but being able to go into Costco whenever you feel like it, being able to take advantage of Costco gas. So I think it's honestly a 2-for-1. It's not exactly the same, but I want to disclaim that, yeah, I do pay for a credit card that I have. But this came to become news because Chase is trying to be on the level of American Express. And we know that American Express, they have yearly fees for most of their cards. It used to be all of them, but like maybe 20 years ago, they have a fee that doesn't have a yearly. They have a card that doesn't have a yearly fee. I actually have that card. But the Chase Sapphire Reserve card is having their fees and their perks revamped. Now, what's outrageous to me is that their annual fee now will be almost $800, and that's up almost $250 from last time. And then they have an authorized user fee that's up over $100, which will now be $200 a year. So that's almost $1,000 if you need both. I didn't even know you need to have an authorized user fee. So I guess if that's your kid or someone in your household, if you want them to be, you have to pay for that. That's ridiculous. And some updates is that you get 8 times a point for travel purchases, 4 times a point if you do direct plane or hotel purchases, and 2 times a point if they're, I guess, indirect. And another thing that they have is that if you spend $75,000 a year, you are rewarded with additional perks. And that's here on the bottom right of this little blue box that I have. I didn't even go into it because there are no amount of perks that makes me want to spend $75 a year for a card. That is a salary that is higher than the average American salary, right? And I'm like, are people buying into this? It got to be people who really like upper middle class. And I'm not hating, that's fine. But I don't think, even when I am at that level, I'm speaking to existence, that I will get there one day. That is not something I'm not going to personally make sure, let me spend my $75,000 on my credit card so I can get these measly things. $300 annual dining credit. That just spend $300 on a dinner, right? So I don't understand why. But I just wanted to bring the point, like, just to be careful, because credit cards are getting ridiculous. And this tells me that even though everybody else is watching their coins, these credit card companies are making money off us. Because if they see it's prudent to raise their prices versus decreasing them, they know that people will pay it, which is wild to me. And I just saw something on TikTok, because y'all, I love TikTok, that even though I love TikTok, you have to cite your sources. And I do be citing my sources here, but take this for a grain of thought. I will say that it makes sense, though. They're saying, I saw a TikTok that said, if you have good credit, the average credit rate is 21%. But if it's bad credit you have, then they can charge you 28%. So you're getting charged 28% on top of these credit cards. And if you have a credit card that has these high fees, like, I just wanted to put it out here that these credit card companies are doing just fine in this economy where our wages are not going up and prices are going up. So that right there made me mad. I'm like, I'm going to find every way to not give a credit card my money. And I hope y'all follow suit, because that's ridiculous. Freaking $800 for an annual fee. They think they're American Express and they're trying to become American Express, but I don't have those type of American Express cards either. And then the last thing I wanted to, well, it's not the last thing, second to last thing, is an update on the buy now, pay later thing that I was talking about a few episodes ago. So FICO is creating buy now, pay later credit scores. And the purpose of that is that lenders will be able to see repayment behaviors now. And y'all know that those repayment behaviors are bad. So this is going to hurt poor people, especially young poor people. Because I don't know if you had encounters with the youth of America now, people who are in their early 20s, late teens, they do this all the time. And I'm pretty sure they have a high percentage of being in Klarna and Affirm's delinquent account number. These young people are not paying it back because they are uneducated about it. They don't see the serious of it. Like maybe they didn't know that their credit was not being reported because they didn't have reports, but now they're exactly no, don't do pot now, pay later. Exactly. They're going to screw these young people over. Now, mind you, these young people should not have signed up, but they did. And they're going to use it against them. These buy now, pay later things are the new student loans because these kids ain't going to college like that anyway. And it's just like they are finding every way to make sure it's harder for these kids in the future to get a car loan, to get a house loan, to get a personal loan, to get a business loan if they ever think about getting a business. Because when you're 20 and you're doing buy now, pay later to get Uber Eats, you're not thinking that this is going to screw you over. Now, you should have the sense to not buy something that you know you're not going to pay back, but that's a different conversation. I will play the devil's advocate. There's one point to say that this could be good is because remember when you were young and you couldn't get stuff because you didn't have a credit history. So according to Yahoo Finance, they pointed this out, and it's like now that will go away if you are good with your buy now, pay later, and you never had a credit card. You don't have to go and get a credit card to start your credit history. They'll just use your buy now, credit, pay later credit history. But I mean, that's going to be 2% of people. These people are not paying back their Klarna and their Affirm accounts. Oh. Starting now, or will people who have been delinquent in the past be affected? I don't know. I got to look into that, but I don't know. Good question though. And then the last thing is gold, and this is why I've been tracking it, because I didn't know there was going to be a possible war happening in the Middle East, but I thought it would be a good idea to track it. And just like oil, gold is a old type of investment that has stood the test of time. And as of today, I really should say the 24th, it is still down from its peak of 3,500. And I like the way this is going. And again, I thought people would go to gold and it would hike the price up because of what's going on in the Middle East, but it's looking like we're still good if it's something we want to invest in. So to wrap up, oil is still affordable and it may be a good time to buy. America is reconsidering the health of our food because it is costing us financially. And let me put what's the last thing? Credit card companies are still profiting off of us, which is burn my biscuit. So I wanted to put it in like the show because this is ridiculous. Make sure you're paying that stuff off every month because these people, I don't know how they're raising prices when people are like strapped for cash. And gold is still going up. Any other questions? Let me know in the comments and I will see you guys next week. As always, we keep moving forward. Thank you to everybody who showed up. And I will see you guys next week, but it will probably be an earlier time, just so you know.